Good morning, CLC family and friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your love, your presence, your positive energy. We're so grateful for each and every one of you. In this moment and at this time, we invite you to join us in remembering love is why we're here. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take a nice deep cleansing breath in. And as you release the breath, release all that no longer serves you. Allow all doubt and tension, all stress and anxiety to just wash away for now. Go ahead and take another nice deep cleansing breath in, breathing in cool, calming oxygen. And as you release the breath, allow your body to just relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon that divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one very special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This could be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in this room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
How are you today? Thank you for being here. My name is Jennings. I work here. And this is a series on healing of body, mind, and spirit. And a colleague of mine asked in a forum that we have of ministers a few days ago, because I signed up for the weekly digest instead of the daily version of this thing, so this colleague of mine asked this a few days ago, and by now I'm sure they've come to some kind of answer for themselves. But the question was, in a week where the world is once again in flames and there are awful things happening all over the place, he said, my topic this Sunday is joy. How am I supposed to do this? And what I would have said, and may yet say, just because I have vast years of experience and can do that, is say that. Just say that. Just say, well, here I am today, and I'm supposed to talk about joy, and the world's in a terrible mess. And why am I doing this? Because it can seem pointless. It can seem self-indulgent. It can seem really self-indulgent to have a talk on personal healing when there's all sorts of trouble outside these walls. You know, there's nothing wrong in this room today. You're fine with me. I'm fine with you. We're all fine with each other. Everything's great, and we have coffee. And free parking. And so everything's fine here, but there's trouble. There's trouble around us. The wolf is at the door, you know. Why are we talking about healing? Why are we talking about something so personal and private? Because our experience of what's happening out there happens in here. It happens within the self. Our experience of the world is in the soul. That's why we work with the soul. And this week I was reminded of a saying that's attributed to Ram Dass. I can't find where he actually said it, but I didn't have time to go through his entire body of work line by line. But it sounds like something he would have said. And what he said was, the best thing that I can do for you is work on myself. And the best thing you can do for me is work on yourself. So we work on the self. For so long, we have tried to work on each other, collectively or in groups. We've tried to go around and fix the broken and punish the wicked and reward the righteous, and this has never worked. It's never worked for more than about 24 hours, where there's a sense of satisfaction that, well, finally now everybody's on the right track, but then they act out, or more usually we act out. We forget who we are, and we fall into our fear, and we fall into our pain, and we express from that. So this is why we deal with healing. And in this place, in this particular teaching, it's inward directed. Why? Because the divine is everywhere, but the experience of the divine is within the self. In order to contact God, that's where I have to look, is within myself. And that's where it gets problematic, because in a way it would be easier if it were in other people or an institution of some kind. Because when I look within myself, I see some darkness there. I see some cobwebs and stuff. It looks like sort of perpetual bad Halloween decorating, right? Dirty corners and stuff. I see my issues. I see my resentments, my grudges, and especially my sense of unworthiness, my own shame, my blame of self. We can blame other people, but blaming other people is a projection of how we feel about ourselves and the work we haven't done within ourselves. So this is what I may see when I look within myself, is all of the work that I have to do, all of the forgiveness and this and letting go and trusting and not fearing as much and so on. And so it's easier and compelling to be distracted away from that and pretend that everything that's wrong is out there and it's somebody else's problem. But you know that. And that's why you're in this room today. That's why you're engaged in this work today, or you're watching us online when you could be watching a lot of other things or just burying your head under the covers. Is you know this, and something won't leave you alone. I was talking with another. I did an interview this week for the New Thought Men's Summit, and we were talking there about how when you say to yourself and then start saying it in a group, that we're all at choice, that we all can choose how to think and what to feel and so on, and that we're all ultimately responsible for our own experience of life. Not everybody's going to buy that, but nobody's going to forget it. Whenever I have put that out there from this position, I know that it becomes an earworm to the room, to the group. You can't forget that. You might reject it, and you're perfectly welcome to do that. No, I'm not responsible for that. I'm still at effect of this and this and this. And I probably would agree with you when you told me your story. Because I'm not willing to accept 100% responsibility for my own life yet, to this day. But I know I should. But I'm not quite ready to, you see. But I can't shake it off, and neither can you. So everybody that hears they're responsible for their own experience has that haunt them. They walk around with that until they do something with it. And if you're not willing to accept 100% responsibility for your own life, ramp it up by 5%, let's say, today. Go from 30 to 35%, or 32 to 37% or something. You see what I mean? Take a little more responsibility for stuff. That in the moment I could choose differently than I am choosing. In the moment I could process this differently. And consider that a healing. See, it doesn't have to be all at once. And this is one of the misunderstandings that we have about spiritual healing, is it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're immortal in body, mind, and soul. You are in soul, but you know what I'm saying. It's not like all of a sudden all your problems just vanish and you're this sort of statue of yourself, this icon, this avatar. No, it's incremental. It's incremental in your healing work. You trust your body. You know the thing about physical healing? You still have to feed the body. You still have to exercise the body. You still have to do good things with the body. Medical care is not a bad thing at all. Medication is not a bad thing at all. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, was asked about that one time. He said, well, What about all of this medical jazz? Because there was a conversation in early New Thought about medicine was you either did it spiritually or you did it allopathically. You did it medically, your process of healing. We found that in early Christian Science. And he was asked about all of this, and he said, I think wisely, he said, until you can walk on water, take a boat. If you have a headache, take an aspirin. If you have another headache, take another aspirin. If you have 3 headaches, start asking yourself, what does my head want me to know? What is my body trying to communicate to me? And it's not just medical. You bounce a check. Do people write checks? You'll have an opportunity in a little bit. No, just kidding. You bounce a check. You have a financial issue of some kind. It's not the end of the world. You have a second one. You deal with it. You have a third one. You say, what is it about my relationship to my supply that's not working for me? How could I do this differently? Similarly, you hurt somebody's feelings. This is going to happen. More people you interact with, more levels you interact with them on, going to do that. You clean it up. Happens again, you clean it. It happens the third time, you say, where's my anger? Where's my fear? Why am I projecting this? Why am I pushing people away from me? We were talking about somebody leaving a situation. I don't remember, this was early in the week, and I don't remember the conversation or who it was with except for this, that somebody was leaving a situation. They were leaving a job, they were leaving a career, they were moving across the country, they wanted to do this, and they found themselves still going into the position of making it wrong. What they had, making what they had wrong so as to be able to push themselves off of it. When you have a wonderful job, let's say, in a wonderful place and you're perfectly happy, but your self-created destiny comes calling and there's an opportunity that opens up that's greater and it's somewhere else and it's going to involve a lot of change. A typical custom we humans have is to take the situation that we're in, that up till now has been wonderful, and make it wrong. And get kind of uncomfortable with it and get unpleasant about it to the other people involved. Which reminds me of a story I've told before to that point. When I was a senior in high school, I went to a Catholic high school, and one of the priests pulled some of us aside after class one day, and he used a word that I can't use today here now in this venue to describe who we were, our behavior. You guys are behaving like, you can imagine what he said. He said, let me tell you why. You're unpleasant. I know you're unpleasant at home. You sit there stabbing at your food at dinner. You're rude to your families and all like this. He says, let me tell you why you're doing that. Because you're scared. You're not acting like men. You're acting like scared little boys because you're about to graduate high school and go out into the great big world, and you're scared, and you can't let people see that. So you have to be all tough and rude and abrupt and all of this. And he was absolutely right. Of course, I thought to myself, he's talking to these other kids. Yeah, I know. You're right, Father, I know. That's how they are. No, he was right, because this is what we do. This is the style that we have. When we want to make a change, we make the old situation wrong. Why do we do that? To escape emotional discomfort. What if we plunged headlong into the emotions? What if we went into the space within of emotion, meeting thought, forming belief, creating outcomes, and we said, bring it. Bring it. Whatever you have, bring it. I want to feel it all. I want to feel it all. I want to feel where I don't trust. I want to feel where I doubt the path in front of me. I want to shake my fist at God, and I want that to be okay. It is okay. It is okay. God doesn't care if you shake your fist. That's not the kind of God I believe in that sits up there watching, see how we react, you know. No, it's organic. It's within everything. But again, the experience of it is within the self. My experience of the deity, my experience of the divine is within myself. So that's where I do my work. I look within myself and I see what is it here that I can heal. So this guy, Stuart Grayson, who was a friend of mine and, as I mentioned, had spoken here at the center a couple of times, long time ago, because we've been here a while. He wrote a book called Spiritual Healing, published in '98. A cool story to tell you about that. So the book is out of print. I have a copy of it, and I wanted you to have a copy of it too without having to hunt, because that's the kind of guy I am. So I went to Thrift Books and bought a copy of the book used. It's now for sale across in the bookstore for you if you'd like it. We marked it down. It's really cheap, I think. It's a good book. But I'm not here to sell you a book. I'm here to tell you that when I got the book and it came in the mail, I opened it, and out of it fell a receipt, 2 receipts actually, written in hand by a minister to a student who had bought the book at whatever center that minister. And I looked up the minister last night, can find no record of her. It's dated 1998, so that's 27 years ago that this transaction took place. And I want to try to find her and see if she's still around, and write her a letter and tell her about this. And if I at the same time, I want to look for the purchaser, who was a student of hers, whose name is also handwritten on this receipt, because I think that's really cool that it comes full circle and all of this turns back up, you know, at a center here these years later. It's a wonderful book, and in the book he lines out about spiritual healing in a very simple and direct manner. And today what we're coming to is this idea of the 3 tiers, T-I-E-R-S, of mind, 3 levels of mind: the absolute, the conscious, and the subconscious. Now the absolute is what it sounds like. It's not relative, it's absolute. It's the ultimate ground of all being. It is that which contains everything. It is represented in this symbol behind me as the circle. As the circle, right? The all-containing reality. Spirit, it has been said, is a circle whose center is everywhere, whose circumference is nowhere. Whose center is everywhere. You're one of those centers. I'm one of those centers. People driving by on the street are one of those centers. Your worst enemy, one of those centers. Your greatest love, and so on. Everybody who's ever been, everybody who is yet to be. And not only people, but every living thing. And for that matter, not even every living thing, but every inanimate thing as well. In fact, it's everywhere. And not only is it everywhere, it's everywhere all at once. Everywhere all at once. How does it manage to do that? Because it's infinite. And only because it's infinite can it be everywhere all at once. And because it's everywhere all at once, it is infinite and eternal. And it is the only thing that can do this, because if it's infinite, there's nothing else. Does that make sense? If spirit is infinite, or anything is infinite, you give it a name and it's infinite, well, it just crowded out everything else, didn't it? Everything else is some aspect of it. There can't be anything beside it, or what? It wouldn't be infinite. So when we say there is one life and that life is spirit, we're meaning it's all the life there is. There is no other life beside it. Consequently, whatever I encounter in the world is part of that life. Regardless of whether what I encounter in the world knows that. So I encounter, let's say, people, other people, who may not know that they are that one life expressing. And then I encounter some other people over here who do know that they're part of that one life expressing. And then I encounter a third group of people who aren't sure. They kind of come and go with the idea. I'm the one who's doing the encountering. So rather than trying to change these people and get them all looking outward in the same direction and believing what they do, I'm the one who changes my mind about what I'm perceiving, which frees them up to be different, if they wish to be different. Frees them up to improve if they wish to improve. This is why the prayer work that we teach in this place, the fundamental prayer work that we teach, you can do all kinds of prayers, but there's a fundamental kind of prayer that we teach in this place, is praying within the self about the self. We call it spiritual mind treatment, and we treat the self. So if you come to me and you have a problem, I don't treat you. I don't treat at you. I don't look into your mind and I see your cobwebs, your untidy corners, you know. I don't look into what caused this, your motivations and your intentions. I don't sit there with a pad and pencil while you recline on a sofa, you know, and tell me your life story. That's not how this, that's a fine thing to do. Psychiatry is a marvelous science, and that's not what I'm talking about. Instead, what I do is I know within myself the absolute, where you have been and I have been with you, perceiving the relative. I affirm and know the absolute, the principle back of this. So you come and you say, well, I don't have any money. Say, well, I'm going to know the principle of absolute abundance. You come and say, I don't have any friends. I'm going to know the principle of absolute love and inclusion and harmony. You say, well, I'm sick in body, mind, and soul. I'm going to know the absolute presence of wholeness and wellness. Healing, remember, is a process. Wellness is a state of being. Wholeness is a state of being. And paradoxically enough, you can be whole and well while still healing. Because there are things, think of it this way. It's like if you have a hybrid car that you know runs on battery and gas, and you don't have to plug the thing in because it's not entirely battery. So when you're driving and you're using the gas function of it, what's it doing? It's re-energizing the battery. That's how it works with our healing. We go forward. We're moving forward. We say, I'm moving forward in wellness, and while I'm moving forward in wellness, there's a process under the hood. There's a process under the front hood of me that's healing what needs to be. It's re-energizing. It's reinvigorating. We humans have a very vivid example of that every night called sleep. Sleep is not a breakdown. Sleep is not a failure. Sleep is not... You know, if you were a fully functional human, you'd be awake 24/7 and getting stuff done. No, sleep is what's necessary to re-energize the organism. There are many things that we do, interior and exterior, that work on us to perfect us, to rub off the rough edges and that kind of thing within the self. All of these things are effects, but they're in service to a cause. So the absolute is that which contains all the relative. And a question that comes up sometimes is, well, what is the purpose of all of this situation? Like if the divine is all there is, and it's always been all there is, why did it have to create relative representations of itself that are then busy trying to figure out how they fit in? That's a really good question. I don't have an answer to it, but one that Ernest Holmes floated that I find appealing. I'm not sure it nails it down completely, but it's an appealing address to that, is he said that spirit at the level of absoluteness would get bored with itself if it didn't outpicture, if it didn't create worlds and people them with living things, so that on those worlds, those people could kind of mingle, you know, and bump into each other and grow and be challenged and be creative and come up with creative solutions and so on. It would be like having a big dream of a beautiful painting that you wanted to create, but never getting a brush or a canvas or the pigment or anything that went into it. It would be conceptual only and not actual. I like that. You can't prove it, but I like it, right? So here we all are, grasping for the absolute. Mysticism is the perception of the absolute in the cracks of light that appear between circumstances. And the mystics are people that we've named them a class. We've made them like druids or something, where there's, this group of people over here called mystics who do what mystics do. We're all mystics, for that matter. We're all druids, but we'll talk more about that next month. Well, what the mystic does is perceive in the cracks between circumstance the absolute and eternal truth of their own being, that they then try to express back to the community, usually without much success. They, as far as they judge it, we look at it and say, wow, this is beautiful work, but the mystic is never quite satisfied with what they've communicated. Well, we're all mystics because we've all seen that light. We've all perceived that there's something more than just what the senses testimony adds up to. Right? So there's a sense of the absolute, and then we get up and go to work. And then there's laundry to do, and then the car needs an oil change and all of this sort of thing. And we look at that and we say, well, this is an impediment to my spiritual progress. This is, or is it? No, it's a workshop. It's a living workshop. The family is a workshop. The workplace is a workshop. It's all about experiencing spirit and the absolute in a relative way. But it takes effort. It takes a regular spiritual practice. And that's what we're called to do. And if you read all the way through Stuart Grayson's book, or you read all the way through any book of New Thought material, it's all going to come, you look for the answers at the back, right? It's all going to come down to the same thing. Try a regular spiritual practice where you remind yourself that there is one life, that life is a spiritual life, that life is an intangible and invisible life, but it's the only real life there is. And that everything that's physical and tangible is an outpicturing of that life. And now you are able to have a conscious position, and that's the second tier of mind, all right? So the absolute that contains everything is the first, and the second is the conscious, which is where you and I come in deliberately, intentionally. We have a conscious decision to make here. I could see spirit instead of this. I could see peace instead of war. I could see joy instead of misery. I could see clarity instead of cloudiness, and so on. That's a conscious choice that we make in the moment. And you train yourself by habit to do that more often than not. And we all forget. We all forget. But then we remember. And the more we remember, the less we forget. The less often we forget. The greater the elapsed period of time between forgettings. Do we remember this? To look at this. And you read your news feed, you look out into the world, and you go, oh my God, And the oh my God is not a bad thing at all. It's your emotional reaction, it's your fear, it's your feeling the ground beneath your feet kind of giving way. So what are you going to do with that? Well, rather than going off into blame, and rather than going off into shame, you remind yourself that behind the relative, no matter how fragile it appears, no matter how threatening for that matter it appears, there is the absolute, and I'll go talk to that. I'll go be with that for a while. And it restores you, and it gives you a sense of strength. Cosmic strength, not your own strength, but something greater. It gives you compassion, it gives you empathy, and it gives you the right words to say, at least to yourself. It also conducts you into the presence of people and situations that support you, that encourage you, that move you forward. Things come to you. Ideas occur. You learn how to vent in a healthy kind of way, like you write a poem about it. You paint a painting about it. You write a protest song. You do something rather than punch a wall. You do something to offload the emotional conflict and replace it with a sense of constructive belongingness. That's how we do this sort of thing. Now, where the subconscious comes into all of this, the subconscious is a frequent topic in this place, because it's the least understood of the whole shebang. I can talk about infinity, and while we can't really wrap our minds around it, why? Because it's infinite. We still conceptualize it and get it. And we know the conscious mind like the back of our hand because we're up in our heads all the time, right? You're sitting there right now, I promise you, and meaning no disrespect to you or to me either, but I promise you that between the words that I'm speaking here, you're thinking about lunch. You're thinking about what you got to do tomorrow or Wednesday or a month from now. You're thinking about your kids, your parents, your car, and that's right. That's what we do. So we're real familiar with the conscious. We manage all kinds of things. Yeah, we have phones that have calendars and stuff in them, but most of that lives in our head. We know where we're supposed to be and when, and we're responsible people. And we think that's enough. Part of the conscious aspect of us is the ego, which is another topic for another day, but the ego is telling us, all right, I look pretty good today. I feel pretty good about myself today. I'm smarter than most people and luckier than some, so the ego's all, and it's cheerleading for you much of the time in a superficial kind of way. Not a bad thing, but don't buy it completely. Just listen to its testimony, take it at face value. But now the subconscious is a mysterious part of us. It's where we actualize the light that we see in the cracks between circumstances and events. The subconscious is the activity of spirit through us, and here's the deal about it in brief. It's really good at what it does, and it's very narrow at what it does in terms of creation for us. It has all information in it, so it's not narrow in that way at all. It's all there, but in terms of the use that we make of it, we don't have a place to put all information. So we go into it looking for some information. We go into it looking for, how do I get out of this jam? Get me out of this. Get me out of it. What do I need to do? The subconscious has no response to that because it takes the question as an answer. That is to say, the intensity of feeling is the only thing it has to go on. So I go to the subconscious mind and I say, I got lots of problems. What it's not going to do is put its arm around your shoulders and say, no, you don't. You're wonderful. The conscious can do that. The absolute can absolutely do that. But the subconscious is going to say, you're right. You know the old expression, it comes from Zig Ziglar or W. Clement Stone or one of those people who taught business prosperity, New Thought principles back in the day. It says, whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, you're right. That's what that is alluding to, is the subconscious mind. It takes the intensity of feeling. So you hate something, the subconscious does not say to you, because it's not built to do this, doesn't, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not good for you. It just says, okay. You love something, it says, okay. All it knows is the intensity of feeling, and it takes it like a search engine. Very much like a search engine. The metaphor is pretty good. And it goes and finds a similar situation for you. I hate my job. I'd love a new one, but I really hate my job, you say to the subconscious mind. It says, fine, you hate your job. Here's another one to hate. And it doesn't do this with a smile. It doesn't do this with a knowing wink. It doesn't do this with any sense of irony at all. But almost mechanically. That's how it produces. Now, there's an awful lot more to the subconscious mind than just the use we make of it through spiritual law. Let me hasten to add that. It is a wealth of beauty and wonder and everything else. It's where archetypes live. It's where the whole Jungian world swirls around within us. But that has to follow our constructive use of it. All of that. It's like, I don't know, this just came to me. Imagine an enormous library of every possible book on every possible topic. But you and I visit that library with our little library card, and we go in and we check out the book called What's Wrong with Me? And we read that same book and we feel despair and hopelessness and put it back on the shelf and all around us. Would you like to travel here? Would you like to do this or learn that or hear the mysteries of the ages? But that's not what we're reading today. That's not what we're checking out, you see? So the use of the subconscious mind, if you want to know the wealth of the subconscious mind, start giving it affirmative statements about yourself and about the world that you can buy, that you can accept, that you can feel. And that's why we say these things that, again, sound real self-indulgent, real kind of ick sometimes, about I am beautiful and capable and wonderful and I can do this and I can do that. Why are we saying that? To be better humans, to serve the species, to serve the earth better, where we're not looking at everything as a remedy to our own pain. We're looking at it as this playscape. We're looking at it as this sandbox, you know, this, where, wouldn't it, how great it would be to celebrate life together in a fine and wholesome kind of way. How do I do that? I affirm and know to myself that there's something powerful working through me right now, restoring me to wholeness and wellness. So let's know that together now. And we'll come back next week and talk more about the subconscious mind and the wealth of stuff that it has for us and how it facilitates our growth. On this sweet, beautiful, late summer day, only a week left in that season on the calendar. It's still warm here, but that's where we are. It is easy to feel the presence of one life, one mind, one power, working in and as and through everything that I perceive, working through me as I perceive it. And I declare into its creative law the action of the subconscious, of the subjective. I declare into that all is well. I am liberated from suffering, from attachment to meaningless outcomes. I am freed from the need to judge others, even positively. I regard the world with equanimity, poise, and unconditional acceptance. All forms of life made by the same divine intention as made me. All experiences heading in one way or another toward a harmonious, constructive outcome. I bless this world and everyone in it. The people who agree with me, the people who do not agree with me. I bless everyone in this world, the people whose actions and intentions confound me. Because at the center of each one's soul is the absolute, the same life, the same divine mind. As in the Buddha, as in the Christ, as in the great ones of upliftment, truth through the ages. And I affirm and know that that which ought to be done by me now presents itself to me easily, understandably, in plain language. And I am up to it. And I take this new direction that intuition has prompted and go and build heaven on earth for this knowing, for its manifestation and form everywhere I turn. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
Very tempting to touch this, Mel. But she'll beat me up afterwards if I do. So I got a message that if you get a headache, take an aspirin. If you get a second headache, take an aspirin. If you get a third headache, take a paracetamol. Or pray, which is my recommendation as well. If you want to know what's going on during the week, I'm going to have to touch this mallet. It's just not working properly. Yeah? Yeah, but it doesn't feel right, you know. I mean, Jesse was talking about feeling, you know. You've got to put feeling into whatever you do. As well as prayer, you've got to put feeling in here. Yes. And for those of you online, I'm getting a lot of help, quote unquote, from the front row here. Okay, so if you want to know what's going on at our center, there's two ways to find out. One, if you're in the room, if you got one of these things. And if you don't, you should have one. On the very first page when you open it up is a list of every single thing going on here during this coming week. And online, you can sign up for our weekly email. In the room, you can also sign up for it. There's two ways to sign up for it. One is send an email to info@creativelife.org. The second one is if you're in the room and you're not getting the email, on your way out, stop in the vestibule there and put your name and address in there, and we will send you the email, and we will not spam you. I can promise you that. So with that said, we come up to giving time. I just invite you to be grateful for everything that you have in your life. I know stuff is going on, but there are things in our lives for which we can be grateful. And you've heard from this platform many times that gratitude is the foundation of a truly good spiritual life. So please be grateful for everything you have. We're grateful for the support you give us. Please continue to give us your support in all the ways that you do it. And now, either physically or in your mind, take your gift and say with me, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
So, the two gifts that I have for you, and Danielle, for your information, I did post one of them. The other one I did not. So the first one, this is why I brought my glasses, because you did the song, Humble and Kind, and it immediately reminded me of Doctor Who. I'm not a nerd or anything. Oh, yes, I am. So when Peter Capaldi did his goodbye speech as his doctor, one of the things that he said, never be cruel, never be cowardly, and never eat pears. Remember, hate is always foolish, and love is always wise. Always try to be nice, and never fail to be kind. Now he goes on from there, but that's the line I wanted. Always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind. Now, the other thing, if you're familiar with the Buddhist metta prayer, M-E-T-T-A, it is a prayer for loving kindness. That's the one that's on the Facebook. It starts out as, may I be peaceful. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be awakened to the light of my true nature. May all beings be free. The second time you say it, you say, may you be peaceful. May you be happy. May you be safe. Now, you can do this as many times and break it up as much as you want. You can say your country, you can say your county, you can say your nation, you can say the world, you can say the universe. But this is the one that I love. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. May all beings be free. You start any prayer work with that, I promise you it's going to be an amazing prayer work. So, and I was reminded of that. I learned that prayer while I was in ministerial school from one of my classmates. May all beings. That is the work that we do here. May all beings. Whatever I want for myself, I get to want for absolutely everybody. I don't get to leave anybody out, nor would I want to, most of the time. I am a human. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. But that's what I come back to. That is my ground and center. May all beings. May all beings. So step with me consciously into that sacred. It is all sacred all the time. But when we enter into prayer work, we enter into that space consciously. We go to that one place at the center of our being where nothing has ever been wrong, nothing can ever be wrong, and we soak that up. There is one life. There is one power. There is one presence. There is one love. I am a manifestation of that love. I live that life. I am a channel for that power. Just as I know each and every one of you is as well. When we know who we are, beloved expressions of the divine, amazing things happen. As we walk through this week, I know that you awaken to your true nature of love. That each and every one of us allow that love to flow through us in every look, in every word, in every touch, in everything that we do. That love is flowing from an inexhaustible place. It will never run out, it will never run dry, and it will never fail to flow. And as we step through this week, we kiss the ground with our loving touch. We touch each other with our loving touch. And we allow the healing to happen naturally from that divine center of our being, each and every one of us. And I know this with all of the gratitude in my being. And I am grateful for a teaching that reminds me who I am. I am grateful for a community that comes together to remind each other who we are. I am grateful for our ministers, our practitioners, our musicians. I am grateful for each and every one of you. I am grateful for the technology that allows us to send this out into the ethers. And I am grateful because it's just another word for love. And I relax into this knowing, releasing it with love into the law, and calling it done. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body. I feel it in my mind. I feel it in everything I am. I choose it. I trust it. I use it. I love it. And I sign the guest book if I'm new today. And so it is.